this arrest cannot erase the pain or grief or losses endured, but we hope it is a step forward.
Tonight, a man is behind bars, charged in connection with the devastating Palisades fire in Los Angeles that killed 12 people and destroyed thousands of homes. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. That arrest was announced earlier today after a 9-month investigation. Authorities say the suspect in this case intentionally set a fire back on New Year's Day that would eventually grow into the destructive Palisades fire days later. As Fox's Max Finn explains tonight, investigators dug into the suspect's digital footprint.
A 29-year-old man now facing federal charges in connection with a deadly January wildfire that became the most destructive in Los Angeles history.
Investigators determined that the Palisades fire, reported on January 7th, was caused by an intentionally set fire.
Federal officials allege Jonathan Rinderknecht lit a fire after completing a ride as an Uber driver on New Year's Day. A week later, the feds say that fire reignited during high winds and became the Palisades fire that killed 12 people and destroyed more than 6,000 buildings.
It took the defendant several tries to contact 911 to report the fire. He fled the scene in his car, but turned around after passing fire engines driving in the opposite direction.
The 29-year-old was arrested Tuesday in Florida and made his initial appearance in court this afternoon. Investigators say they have a mountain of evidence, including a ChatGPT prompt, which appears to show a dystopian city being burnt down, as well as cell phone data.
Geolocation data for the 911 calls showed that he was standing above the fire in a clearing merely 30 feet from the blaze.
Months later, many lots in the Pacific Palisades remain empty. Officials say they hope this arrest brings some closure.
We know this arrest cannot erase the pain or grief or losses endured, but we hope it is a step forward. It is proof that justice will not be forgotten.
The suspect has been charged with 1 count of arson, but legal experts say that he could be faced with many more serious charges considering 12 people died here. In the Pacific Palisades, Matt Finn, Fox News.
A new report has found many of the people performing dangerous remediation work following the wildfires in Southern California earlier this year are immigrant workers who are now facing new threats. The LA Times reports day laborers are facing health risks from cleaning debris that contains heavy metals and other toxins following the Eaton fire and the Palisades fire. And many workers report feeling that the fear of immigration enforcement operations has become a more immediate threat than on-the-job toxic materials. Some now say they're hesitant to go to job sites out of fear that ICE may show up. In Northern California, today marked 8 years since the Tubbs fire swept through Sonoma County. This was part of a complex of fires that killed 22 people and destroyed more than 5,000 homes and businesses. The Tubbs fire leveled entire neighborhoods in Santa Rosa, north of San Francisco. Today, the Santa Rosa Fire Department said it is in a much better position to fight a massive wildfire than it was 8 years ago. Fire officials announced the purchase of a new engine, along with the creation of a new battalion chief and 2 fire prevention positions.
It's just amazing. I've been working here for 25 years, and this is the biggest expansion we've had really in that time since I've been here.
New funding is also helping to provide new protective gear, from boots to masks and filters for firefighters. California Governor Gavin Newsom has vetoed a bill that would have given Cal Fire firefighters a pay raise. Some firefighters make as little as $20 an hour. The measure would have put their pay closer to what firefighters make in local municipalities. Newsom said he vetoed the pay plan over cost concerns and because it stepped on the firefighters' collective bargaining agreement. The head of the Cal Fire Union says the veto is disappointing. Well, today, the chief of the Oakland Police Department announced that he is stepping down only 18 months into the job. Chief Floyd Mitchell was hired in May of last year and was previously the chief of the Lubbock, Texas Police Department. He is leaving Oakland as crime numbers are coming down, but the department is still facing staffing issues with fewer officers than when the chief started on the job. Mitchell is the 11th chief in Oakland, or interim chief, in just over a decade.
To see Chief Mitchell exit at this time, it's saying that he wants to get out before something happens to him.
In his announcement, Mitchell didn't give a reason for leaving. His resignation is effective December 5th. President Trump today held a White House roundtable discussion on a crackdown on left-wing groups, specifically Antifa. The president blamed Antifa, what he called a, quote, domestic terrorist group, and said it's responsible for what he calls unrest in cities like Portland and Chicago. President Trump said Antifa protesters have attacked federal officers in front of that ICE building in Portland.
We have a very serious left-wing terror threat in our country. Radicals associated with the domestic terror group Antifa.
The president invited a host of conservative influencers to today's roundtable at the White House to discuss what they say has been the lack of reporting on Antifa. Today, the mayor of Seattle laid out how his city would respond if National Guard troops are deployed there in the future. Mayor Bruce Harrell signed 2 executive orders today. The first one outlines how the city will coordinate in the event of the National Guard being sent to Seattle, and it ensures the police department in Seattle knows how they should and should not respond. The second order bans the use of face masks by law enforcement with few exceptions, and it requires all law enforcement to have visible badges.
Masked agents operating without clear identification diminish transparency, they erode accountability, and they sow fear in our communities. They're waging a campaign based on fear and also creating a dangerous possibility for other bad actors.
The mayor said the orders were created in recent days in response to President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops, or his attempt to deploy them to the city of Portland. Tensions are flaring on Capitol Hill, with some lawmakers taking jabs at House Speaker Mike Johnson for using the government shutdown as a reason to delay the swearing in of newly elected Arizona Congresswoman.
Why are you blocking her then?
I'm not blocking her. With all due respect, you voted multiple times to keep the government shut down, okay? The Republican members from Arizona voted to keep the government open. So don't sit here and try to lecture us.
Get your people in and stop covering up for the pedophiles.
Nobody's covering up for pedophiles, so knock it the hell off.
And that is Ruben Gallego from Arizona, as well as Senator Mark Kelly, confronting Speaker Johnson today, accusing him of delaying the swearing in of Adelita Grijalva because it will trigger a vote on releasing the Epstein files. That is their view. Speaker Johnson says he would swear in the new Congresswoman if the Democrats in Congress agree on the Republican plan to reopen the government. California gubernatorial candidate Katie Porter is facing criticism from all sides tonight after trying to walk out of a recent interview she was doing. The former Orange County Congresswoman took exception to a reporter's question about appealing to voters who also voted for President Trump. KTVU's political reporter Greg Lee breaks all of this down and has reaction from some of the other candidates in the race.
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Leading candidate for California Governor Katie Porter going viral for this exchange with CBS News California reporter Julie Watts, the former congresswoman threatening to walk out of the interview that began with a question over Prop 50 and Republican voters.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote.
The interview eventually continued, but the damage was done. The crowded field of gubernatorial candidates jumping on the flub in bipartisan fashion.
You can't be afraid to answer basic questions, and that was a question that was posed to all of us.
They can't withstand the most basic questions. They totally crumble. That's why I'm running for governor. We've got to change all this. We've got to get rid of this one-party rule.
Fellow Democrat Betty Yee now calling for Porter to drop out of the race. Javier Becerra said, "I'm not interested in excluding any vote." Republican candidate Sheriff Chad Bianco wrote on X, "Throw a tantrum on TV because you do not like the question. Katie Porter is just another unhinged Democrat who would complete Gavin Newsom's destruction of our beautiful state." The viral moment drawing attention to a race that had fallen under the radar.
Have very little on the policy issues that separate them. So now a candidate's made a mistake, and the candidate that made the mistake is the front runner. And it allows every other candidate to sort of point and say, look, dumpster fire over there.
Democratic consultant Andrew Acosta believes Porter will rebound from this, but Republican consultant Matt Shoup sees it differently.
That is a textbook example of what not to do in an interview. It's amateur hour. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be substantially less enthusiastic to support her campaign now, and this may be encouraging to other Democrats who have been thinking about getting into the race that haven't yet.
Porter's camp did not respond to our request for comment. The former Congresswoman does have experience representing Republicans after she flipped a GOP seat in Orange County in 2018.
Katie Porter is one of the only people running who's actually been in a purple district when she was in Congress. So I would think that she'd have a better chance to articulate that, but she definitely fumbled that in the interview this week.
Shoup said it's a reminder to all the candidates that the governor needs to work with everyone.
No matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you're elected to governor, you represent the entire population of the state. You don't represent your party, and you need to be working for the good of the entire state and the entire population.
Greg Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, we're learning more about the 3 people who survived that helicopter crash on a Sacramento freeway this week, what authorities are saying about their conditions, and how the actions of bystanders helped first responders to treat the victims. Also, could an earthquake trigger another quake hundreds of miles away? The new discovery linking earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest and Northern California.
And in weather, here is a live camera looking above San Francisco. As you can see, lots of low clouds trying to hang out near the Golden Gate Bridge. We will update the West Coast Wrap forecast coming up after the break.
In Washington, a teenager accused of threatening a school shooting has now been released from detention. Police say more than 20 guns were seized from his home, along with boxes of ammunition. The 13-year-old was arrested last month after sheriff's deputies got a tip about his alleged threats. They say they also found evidence the teen was infatuated with mass shootings. The teenager will be under electronic home monitoring so that he can attend mental health counseling and will be attending school online. All 3 people on board that medical helicopter that crashed on a Sacramento freeway earlier this week have now been identified as they all remain hospitalized in critical condition tonight. That chopper came down on Monday night along Highway 50. Authorities say pilot Chad Millward, paramedic Margaret Davis, and longtime flight nurse Susie Smith are all being treated at UC Davis Medical Center. The company that owns the helicopter, Reach, put out a statement praising the bystanders who rushed to help first responders at the crash site. The Sacramento Fire Department said a group of about 15 people helped to lift that helicopter so that firefighters could pull one of those crew members from underneath the mangled aircraft. Well, police recruits in Washington are using virtual reality headsets to get hands-on experience without ever leaving the classroom. Fox's AJ Genevel has more tonight.
Stop or you will be tased. VR headsets. They're basically video games. But unlike getting a high score, this tech is helping newly hired police recruits get priceless training.
What an amazing tool. I would have loved to have had this.
VR and tactics instructor Jim Morgan tells me 30 years ago when he went through training, officers had to figure out how to handle a lot of different scenarios in the field.
To me, it's more important to get some of the crisis intervention training in there without having to point guns at everything, because we don't have our guns out all the time, but we have to learn how to talk to people. We have to learn to recognize crisis and how to deal with that.
The headsets feature scenarios for dealing with mental health crisis, people who are suicidal, and domestic situations.
I think we're gonna need crisis aid.
Or this one, where someone with autism is accused of shoplifting.
I feel like I can fail in a safe environment without having to hurt anyone, but also ensure that I'm slowly getting better and refining my skills.
For recruits like Fernando Sierra, the VR tech is something he's already familiar with. He has his own headset at home to play video games. Taser. So learning new policing skills is that much easier and much more fun than a PowerPoint presentation.
I have yet to see any of the students come out and they're like, that was boring. They are hyped. I can't get them out of the things. And they're actually, we're having a discussion about the content.
On top of the ease of learning, the lessons are much quicker with no reload times for ammo, no role players needed, or time for setting up scenarios, which can also lead to saving dollars.
We can be put in this safe environment and maybe fail, but being able to do it again and do it right and have it as consistent as we can across the entire state. The product we're going to get for new officers is just going to be groundbreaking.
Reporting in Burien, AJ Janavel, Fox 13 News.
Another UC Berkeley professor has won a Nobel Prize, this time for chemistry. Omar Yaghi was awarded the prize this morning, along with 2 other scientists, for their work on developing a new type of molecular architecture. The Nobel Committee says the discovery led to huge breakthroughs in the field of chemistry. Yaghi was able to use that new molecular architecture to create a microwave-sized water harvester that can capture water from the air, even in desert environments. Yaghi talked about his accomplishment and how science can bring the world together.
Science is a language that allows all people to talk to each other. That's one of the few languages where we all understand chemical formulas, whether we're Japanese, Australians, Koreans, Chinese, or American. A chemical formula is universal.
UC Berkeley says Yaghi is the 28th faculty member to win the Nobel Prize and the second in as many days. Yesterday, Professor Emeritus John Clark won the Nobel Prize in Physics. Geologists say there's evidence large earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest may have been linked to quakes along the San Andreas Fault in California. The study finds that historically, at least 3 major quakes in the Cascadia zone north of California have been followed by large quakes along the San Andreas. These earthquakes happened hundreds of years ago, with the most recent double quake back in 1700. Scientists say they believe the great 1906 earthquake in San Francisco is an exception. In Washington, a new study is suggesting there may be too many pink salmon in certain rivers, and that might be affecting the orca population. The study shows a rise in pink salmon means a decline of Chinook salmon. Chinook are a threatened species that southern resident orcas depend on as a primary food source. With 2-year life cycles, pink salmon return to rivers up to 300% more in odd years than even. It's 2025, an odd year, and pink salmon are dominating runs, so fewer Chinook salmon are expected in rivers this season. Let's shift now and talk about our weather across the West. And this is a live look tonight at downtown San Francisco. Looking beautiful here, but we are expecting some changes as we make our way through the rest of the work week. Let's bring in KTVU's chief meteorologist Mark Tamayo with a look at the forecast, which does include the chance for some showers. Hey, Mark.
Hi there, Alex. Yeah, those rain chances could be expanding across parts of the West over the next couple of days. Here's a look at the satellite. As you can see here, we're watching the circulation. This could bring some showers up in the Pacific Northwest over the next few days. And here on the radar right now, some activity out toward portions of New Mexico. Also watching out for some tropical moisture. It's going to be moving into Southern California and into Arizona, and that will boost the rainfall potential for a place like Phoenix, at least over the next couple days. In fact, we have this flood watch posted that begins Friday, 12 p.m. into the weekend, so we'll definitely have to keep it on the radar and the rainfall rates over the coming days. As far as highs from today, 102 in Phoenix, Palm Springs in California, 95 degrees. San Francisco has really cooled off. 68 degrees this afternoon, and just some lower 60s up for Portland and Seattle earlier today. In fact, this was a scene today in Seattle where you can see some sunshine, some clouds in the distance. There's that 61 degrees. In San Francisco, some stubborn cloud cover out there. There's that 68 showing up. And then in Phoenix, picking up on some of those tropical clouds already kind of sneaking into the picture. We'll definitely keep an eye on that tropical moisture as we do move into Thursday and Friday. There's that 102 degrees. So here is the plan for tomorrow, the overall weather story. Shower chances up in Seattle, some clouds. For Denver, San Francisco has the clouds in the morning, maybe some drizzle as well. A slight chance of some showers in Southern California, and those shower chances could be increasing out toward Phoenix, as we talked about. Here is the Fox weather models who do put it in motion, and here is your Thursday. Now into the Bay Area, some shower chances could be increasing Thursday night and into Friday morning, but clearly the focus is showing up in Southern California. This is remnant tropical moisture from what was once Hurricane Priscilla, and look at all that moisture that could be flaring up for Thursday, and then once again and into your Friday forecast into portions of Arizona, and still a bit unsettled as you can see that the shower activity has moved into Northern California for your Friday. So here is the plan over the next 3 days. Seattle has those shower chances. For San Francisco, clouds in the morning, maybe some drizzle clearing into the afternoon hours. We'll keep a slight chance of a shower in Los Angeles, some clouds, a sun-cloud mix for Denver, and then once again those flood watches issued for Friday and into the weekend. The radar could be very busy in portions of Arizona as we head toward the weekend.
All right, we'll be ready for that wet weather. Yeah. Mark, thank you. The Stanford football program has received a $50 million gift from longtime donor and former Stanford player Bradford Freeman. He graduated in 1964 with a degree in economics before starting a career in investment banking. This is the largest individual donation for the football program itself, not for buildings or facilities at the university. School officials are calling it a game-changing gift, and they say this will help recruit top talent and elevate competition at the highest level. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, scammers increasingly turning to artificial intelligence, how they're using those AI tools, and how you can protect yourself. Elon Musk has reached a settlement with 4 former Twitter executives who were fired from the social media company. The plaintiffs say they were fired immediately after Musk took over the company that had been based in San Francisco. The lawsuit said the executives were never paid the $128 million they were owed in severance pay. The exact terms of that settlement have not been made public. And finally, tonight, a warning from a cybersecurity expert at the University of Nevada at Las Vegas who says online scammers are increasingly using artificial intelligence, and that's making their schemes easier to fall for. Fox's Molly McBride has more tonight on how they're using AI and how to protect yourself.
Attacks are all about making someone trust you. And how do you get someone to trust you? You make them believe that they're part of your in-group. How do you do that? You talk to them and say, I know this about you, so therefore we're similar. So can you do me a favor?
Professor Greg Moody directs the cybersecurity academic programs at UNLV. He explains artificial intelligence tools make it easier than ever before for scammers to learn all about you, scouring the web and pulling your information in seconds.
It lowered the cost of expertise to engage in these attacks.
To show just how easy it is, he tried it on me, typing my name and a little bit of information about me, like where I went to school, into this AI software called ChatGPT. And within 53 seconds...
Currently at Fox 5, I can see your recent bylines and segments on the Muck Rack. You are the Morning Reporter. You have a portfolio page in Cronkite. You apparently do not own a house.
So how can all of this information be used against me? With it, Moody is able to do a little bit more digging. He ends up finding one of my manager's names and says, for an example, a scammer might call and tell me she's had an accident.
She's in the hospital, so we're calling around and asking if anyone would like to contribute to some of her funds because she's actually out of vacation days.
Bad news. Moody says it's too late to delete your personal information.
Say you're on Facebook, that's my age group, and you make a post, and I go back and I delete it. Is that information actually gone? Who owns the information once I post it?
Facebook.
Facebook.
But it's not too late to avoid being scammed. Look out for emails or calls with a sense of urgency. If something feels off, double check it. Reach back out to the person using a different method of communication. And avoid wiring money. Use a payment app instead.
It's only too late once you've wired money.
Molly McBride, Fox 5 News, local, Las Vegas.
All right, that does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching. As always, have a great night.